Welcome to the ultimate highlight reel of the U.S. congressional hearing with the titans of artificial intelligence, OpenAI, Microsoft, AMD, and CoreWeave. We've distilled over 3 hours of testimony, debate, and insight down to under 45 minutes, focusing on the moments that will shape the future of technology, jobs, and global competition. These are the key points you can't afford to miss. Let's dive into the pivotal decisions and bold predictions that will determine who leads the AI race and what it means for all of us.
How harmful would it be to winning the race for AI if America goes down the road of the EU and creates a heavy-handed prior approval government regulatory process for AI?
I think that would be disastrous. To give a more specific answer to your previous question, which I think touches on why it would be so bad, there are three key inputs to these AI systems. There's compute, all the infrastructure we're talking about. There's algorithms that we all do research on, and there's data. If you don't have any one of those, you cannot succeed in making the best models. And as Brad said, the way for America to influence the world here is to have the technology that people most want to use and most adopt. The world uses iPhones and Google and Microsoft products, and that's wonderful. Like, that's how we have our influence. We don't want that to stop happening. So systems that stop us on any of these areas, you know, if we have rules about what data we can train on that are not competitive with the rest of the world, then things can fall apart. If we are not able to build the infrastructure, and particularly if we're not able to manufacture the chips in this country, the rules can fall apart. If we can't build the products that people want, that naturally win in the market, and I think people do want to use American products, we can make them the best. But if we're prevented from doing that, people will use a better product made from somebody else that doesn't have the sort of, you know, that is not stymied in the same way. So it is, I am nervous about standards being set too early. I'm totally fine, with the position some of my colleagues took, that standards, once the industry figures out what they should be, it's fine for them to be adopted by a government body and sort of made more official. But I believe the industry is moving quickly towards figuring out the right protocols and standards here, and we need the space. I can imagine a future where the US government offers a AI-powered service that makes it really easy to use all government services, to get great healthcare, to get great education. You have this thing in your pocket, and if you have any medical problem, you get an answer. If you need to, appeal something on some process you're having with the government or file your taxes or whatever, you just do it instantly. You have an agent in your pocket fully integrated with the United States government, and life is easy.
So how important is U.S. leadership in either open source or closed AI models?
I think it's quite important to lead in both. We realize that we, OpenAI, can do more to help here, so we're going to release an open source model that we believe will be the leading model this summer, because we want people to build on the US stack. In terms of closed source models, a lot of the world uses our technology and the technology of our colleagues. We think we're in good shape there. Well, you touched on a great point with energy. I think it's hard to overstate how important energy is to the future here. Eventually, chips, network gear, that will be made by robots, and we'll make that very efficient, and we'll make that cheaper and cheaper. But an electron is an electron. Eventually, the cost of intelligence, the cost of AI will converge to the cost of energy, and if it'll be how much you can have, the abundance of it will be limited by the abundance of energy. I'll point out one example that I think is just very painful to users. When we launch a new feature or a major new model, we have what is now considered a little bit of like an in-joke, where we say we have this great new thing, not available in the EU and a handful of other countries, because they have this long process before a model can go out. And there will be, I believe, great models and services that are quite safe and robust that we will be unable to offer in other regulatory regimes. And if you are trying to be competitive in this new world, and if you are consistently some number of months behind what other people in other countries get access to, that's an example that's extremely painful to users. I think there's a lot of things that can increase US leadership, but we touched on this earlier. I think it's so important. There will be great chips made around the world. There will be great models trained around the world. If the United States companies can win on products, and the sort of all of the positive feedback loops that come from how you can improve this once real users are using your products in their daily lives for their hardest tasks. That is something special that is not so easy to catch up with just by doing good chips and good models. So making sure that the US can win at the product level here, obviously, I'm like talking my book a little bit, but I really do believe it, is quite important. And that's in addition to all of the chips algorithm, or the infrastructure, algorithms, and data. I think this is a new area where the US is really winning and has a very strong compounding effect. I think, well, first of all, I strongly agree that people getting, like put in jail for stuff they say online is very not American, not what we should be doing. The AI is quite different than social media, at least in its current evolution. People are using these tools in this sort of one-on-one way instead of this massive thing online. So I think it's easy to make too many analogies, but it's a little bit dangerous to try to talk about AI and the things we're going to face here in the same way that we did for social media. But our stance is that we need to give adult users a lot of freedom to use AI in the way that they want to use it, and to trust them to be responsible with the tool. And I know there's increasing pressure in other places around the world, and some in the US, to not do that. But I think this is a tool, and we need to make it a powerful and capable tool. We will, of course, put some guardrails in.
So, Mr. Altman, do you believe that under appropriate circumstances, independent evaluations based on standards performed by qualified evaluators and done voluntarily could help validate the testing that you're performing internally and in conjunction with peer companies?
Yes, I think what you say is very important. It's an important part of our process today. External testing helps us find things that we may have missed internally. And we're very proud of our safety record on the whole. Not that we've not been perfect and we're continuing to learn new things, but I think we do have a process that is leading towards models that the public generally thinks are safe and robust to use. And we've developed a lot of techniques to be able to continue to deliver that. But external testers and red teamers are a critical part of that process.
So how do you get more privacy and still get the benefits?
So there's all of the standard privacy controls that companies like ours and others build and should, but there's a new area that I'd love to flag for your consideration, which is people are sharing more information with AI systems than I think they have with previous generations of technology, and the maximum utility of these systems happens when the model can get very personalized to you. So this is a wonderful thing, and we should find a way to enable it, but the fact that these AI systems will get to know you over the course of your life so well, I think presents a new challenge and level of importance for how we think about privacy in the world of AI, how we're going to think about guaranteeing people privacy when they talk to an AI system about whatever's happened in their lives, how we make sure that when one system connects to another, it shares the appropriate information and doesn't share other information, and that users are in control of that. I believe this will become one of the most important issues with AI in the coming years as people come to integrate this technology more into their lives.
What should Congress think about allocation of federal resources for cybersecurity, and what should we consider when it comes to AI?
Well, I would say that AI, as you said, is both an offensive weapon and a defensive shield when it comes to cybersecurity.
The one area that I want to particularly focus on is workforce and people, to make sure that we have the talent there. That's why I authored the AI Scholarship for Service Act and the AI Training Act. Both of those were signed into law in 2022. Earlier this year, I introduced my AI and Critical Technology Workforce Framework Act to continue the effort along those lines, and love to work with each of you as we look at other legislation necessary to make sure we've got the workforce trained to take advantage of this amazing technology. So I want to talk a little bit about the workforce, but Mr. Altman, when we met last year in my office and had a great conversation, you said that upwards of 70% of jobs could be eliminated by AI, and you acknowledged the possible social disruption of this. If that's happening, we have to prepare for it. We're not going to stand in the way of the incredible opportunities here, but if this is indeed going to occur, we've got to be thinking pretty deeply about how that will be managed and make sure that everybody can benefit from AI, not just a select few that benefit. So talk to me about how you believe leaders in your industry can help mitigate job losses or deal with what could, as you described it last year, a major social disruption.
The thing that I think is different this time than previous technological revolutions is the potential speed. Technological revolutions have impacted jobs and the economy for a long time. Mm-hmm. Some jobs go away, some new jobs get created. Many jobs just get more efficient, and people are able to do more and earn more money and create more, and that's great. Over some period of time, society can adapt to a huge amount of job change, and you can look at the last couple of centuries and see how much that's happened. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows exactly how fast this is going to go, but it feels like it could be pretty fast. The most important thing, or one of the most important things I think we can do, is to put tools in the hands of people early. We have a principle that we call iterative deployment. We want people to be getting used to this technology as it's developed. We've been doing this now for almost 5 years since our first product launch. As society and this technology co-evolve, putting great, capable tools in the hands of a lot of people and letting them figure out the new things that they're going to do and create for each other and come up with, and provide sort of value back to the world on top of this new building block we have and the sort of scaffolding of society. That is, I think, the best thing we can do as OpenAI and as our industry to be a sort of help smooth this transition.
The idea we want to get to a point where AI isn't displacing work, but actually enhancing work, that people are more productive and doing things that we probably can't even imagine what people will do. If we look 100 years ago, we have jobs that no one dreamed
can't imagine, and I don't think we can imagine the jobs on the other side of this. But even if you look today at what's happening with programming, which I'll pick because it's sort of my background and near and dear to my heart, what it means to be a programmer and an effective programmer in May of 2025 is very different than what it meant last time I was here in May of 2023. These tools have really changed what a programmer is capable of, the amount of code and software that the world is going to get. And it's not like people don't hire software engineers anymore.
Right.
They work in a different way, and they're way more productive.
Right.
Thank you. Senator Fetterman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, hello. I'm a big supporter of energy. Energy security is national security. And of course, renewables about that, but of course other things as well too, fossil. But also that also includes nuclear. Of course, nuclear is important. And now then there's that kind of energy transition. My focus is also that I want to make sure that ratepayers in Pennsylvania really aren't hit too hard throughout all of this. Now, the Washington Post reported that increasing electricity demand for the data centers is going to raise up residential power bills, perhaps as much by 20%. Now, to me, that's really a concern for me and certainly for Pennsylvania families. Now, the data center, has important jobs during construction and doing those things, and that's a great thing, of course. But they're not, I guess, long term. But the rate, those rates might last longer for that. And now I've been tracking the plan to reopen TMI. I mean, I had my own personal story is I had to grab my hamster and evacuate, during the meltdown in 1979. You might assume that I was anti-nuclear, and that is not. I actually am very supportive of nuclear because that's an important part of the stack. If you really want to have and address climate change, you can't turn your back on nuclear, in my opinion. But I know that's the power of Microsoft's data center. So now, and I really appreciate that, but if I'm saying now, if we're able to commit that the power purchase agreement, it's not going to raise electricity for Pennsylvania families.
No, I think you raise a critical point. We have two principles that we follow when we're constructing these data centers. Number one, we will invest to bring onto the grid an amount of electricity that equals the amount of electricity that we will use, so that we're not tapping a constricted supply. Number two, we will manage all of this in a way that ensures that our activity does not raise the price of electricity to the community.